Hi everybody. Today is, let me look on the calendar. It's the 16th of February 2018 in New Zealand. When people play this back, it's not going to be today, but I just want to keep this as a diary for some reason I don't know. So today we're going to talk about the truths about the phrases childbirth education, childbirth information, childbirth preparation. As I said in other of the talks that I've given, when I gave birth in 1970, there was a whole different childbirth trend and a whole different evidence-based practice. And the one that I gave birth in 1970 was different from the one that my mother gave birth in at the end of the Second World War. And in fact, it was different than the one that I gave birth in the last child I had, which was in 1982. So I've been around for 3 childbirth trends and 3 evidence-based maternity care systems. And that's important to know because there is a tendency for people to believe that it's always been this way, that how something is has always been this way. Yet we know that's not true in life. My goodness. We didn't have computers 20 years ago. It hasn't always been that way. We didn't have smartphones. So around childbirth, though, there is a really strong belief that it's always been this way, or the other way that it's been is that women had no choices. And women didn't have choices for a very long time. But in between no choices and the present childbirth trend of birth plans now and women having choices, there was this other trend. And that trend was a high societal expectation that expectant families become skilled. And those skills in the United States were Lamaze and the Bradley method. And in New Zealand, where our trust is and where I live, it was Grantley Dick Reed, or Childbirth Without Fear. And as I've mentioned before, and it's important to keep mentioning it over and over again, there was a fatal flaw, unintended, but it was an absolute sort of the original sin around childbirth as it moved from just, first of all, it wasn't medical, then it became medical after the Second World War, and then it moved along into where we are now. So prior to the Second World War and forever looking back through time, there was no concept that women could do anything about birth. There's always been a truth. There's no way to know what your birth's going to be like. And that's always been followed by there's nothing you can do to prepare for it. And that's an untruth. And so we're dealing with the truth collectively. We have a collective mind globally that says you don't know what your birth's going to be like. And that's true. And therefore, people have tried to prepare for it, but they haven't really developed birth skills to do the birth. Women give birth, but they're not seen of as doing the birth. We put labor, if women labor, but we don't have skills for that specific labor. If we dug a ditch, we would have skills for digging a ditch or weaving a cloth or a basket. So birth falls into this vague area, and yet every woman does the birth. So when the skills systems developed, Lamaze and Bradley and Childbirth Without Fear, those were focused only for those women seeking a natural birth, a pain-free labor with less medical care. And this is important for you to understand because the original sin was that these 3 male obstetricians didn't realize or didn't make the connection that every woman is doing the activity of birthing her baby, and therefore every woman can benefit from using skills to birth her baby. And that's the benefit, is that we use skills to do the activity of birthing our baby. It's not the goal to have a natural birth or to have a pain-free labor or to have less medical care. The goal has to be that we are skilled to do the birth, no matter where we birth or who's present or the type of birth that unfolds for us. And that was the original sin. The original sin was only choosing a goal rather than a benefit. And because the goal was very narrow, after a generation, not enough women had achieved those three goals, which meant the next group of birth advocates that arose in the mid-1970s, the Ina May Gaskins, eventually Michelle O'Donnell, Sheila Kissinger, Elizabeth Davis, Nancy Cohen, all of these women, these famous authors and the natural birth advocates, then said, birth skills don't work. And they started to say, birth is natural, it's instinctive, women know what to do, cows and cats aren't taught to birth, you'll know what to do at the time, you don't need to learn breathing, you breathe all the time, you'll breathe in birth. And they began to develop the myths around childbirth that are not accurate. And because of those myths, we have, and because of that fatal flaw of connecting birth skills only to these three goals of a natural birth, a pain-free labor, and less medical care, rather than benefits, which is that all women can use skills to birth their baby, no matter the type of birth they have, where they birth, or who is present. Because that happened, then skills didn't grow along with the present trend, which was choices. So birth advocates in the mid-1970s advocated for choice. Under the women know what they want for their birth, and we should be able to just choose it. We should be able to choose what type of medical care and not have. And they base that on the premise, which was another myth, which is, and yet it's a truth, which is that pregnancy and birth are normal life events. They are normal life events, but the word normal then got co-opted to mean it's healthy, there's no problem, all's good, outcome's great, everything's easy, and that isn't accurate. So we now have a choice-based trend, and we've had that since the 1980s, and women make birth plans, childbirth classes, which were skills-oriented strongly because there were no choices. Everybody practiced skills and used skills, but there was always in the back of everyone's mind in the 60s and the 70s that those skills were to be used for natural births, those wanting a pain-free labor, and those seeking less medical care. So most women didn't use the skills, and the skills actually were techniques. And the difference between techniques and skills is that techniques don't adjust. They don't adapt. They're not sustainable. Lamaze breathing was, you couldn't do it for hours and hours. It was exhausting. Drop your chin to your chest and push. Women's capillaries in their eyeballs ruptured, and babies still had difficulty being born. Bradley method was in the nose and out the mouth, but women can breathe in the nose and sound relaxed, or they can sound controlled, or they can scream, ah, or moan, oh. So in the nose, out the mouth was a technique, it wasn't a skill. So then in the 80s, the childbirth classes changed. They changed to be about education and information. They became very mental. They talked about the pros and cons of every medical thing. And they were all now called interventions. They were no longer called assessments or monitoring or procedures. Everything was lumped into an intervention. In fact, when we teach classes in New Zealand on strengthening the midwifery partnership, because we have a midwifery partnership in New Zealand, midwives will say they want natural birth. And you say, what's preventing them? And they'll say interventions, and you make a list, and there'll be 28 of them. So for women to achieve this natural birth with less medical care, they have to say no to 28 different things, and that's just too difficult. But what it means is if they have one of those, then they perceive that their birth is no longer natural or no longer normal. So childbirth information And childbirth preparation, childbirth education have been lumped in together now. And the implication is that you get lots of information mentally. And from that information, because you know what kind of birth you like, you then make choices and make decisions. And from that, you construct a birth plan with the expectation that they, the medical profession, or they, the midwives, give you the birth that you want. And this is why we have so much rage around childbirth, so much shame, blame, guilt, disappointment, anger, frustration, birth trauma, because birth is an event, but there is no way to know what it's going to be like. So therefore that event falls into, it's just something that happens that you have no control over. So you might know what you want, but rarely do women get the birth that they plan. Which brings us to the truth about these three words: education, information, and preparation. Skills have been replaced by thinking. We use women give birth, which is such a weak word. We don't do the birth. We don't hear people say, I have to do the birth. I have to do the activity of birthing my baby. We don't use that societally. We say, she's going to give birth, or I gave birth, or I'm having a baby. We do use the word labor, and we just sort of throw it off. We don't connect the word labor to the need to have skills to do that labor well. We totally dismiss women who have non-laboring cesareans as not giving birth, which is absolutely where women fall into the mean-spiritedness that we classically can have with one another. The birth of every baby is important to that family, and we have to elevate that activity of giving birth. If you think that driving to the hospital, being prepped, having surgery, and recovering is not an activity of doing, you're mistaken. It is. And that time it takes to fill, you can fill with skills if you have them. Birth is still being pregnant. You are still pregnant when you do the activity of giving birth. It is after the birth that you're not pregnant. So we do pregnancy, and some of us develop skills around pregnancy. But doing the activity of giving birth is a very short period of time, even if that takes 24 or 36 hours. It's a short period of time. So we have to start to use the word skills. We want women to be skilled to do the activity of birthing their baby, no matter where, with whom, or what's happening. We want fathers or others to have the skills to do the activity of helping her do the activity. And what is the goal of doing that activity with skills? It's to have some sense of being in control. It's as simple as that. Women know from the moment they're pregnant that we lose control over a large part of our lives. We lose us to some degree. And some women never really feel they gain themselves back all through their mothering and through a subsequent pregnancy and another birth and another baby. We lose something of us. And this is the whole discussion that turned out to be mummy wars as well. But what keeps us as us is when we feel highly skilled. I know this is hard for some people to understand, but when we feel out of control, when we feel overwhelmed, when we feel stressed, that is when we are telling ourselves we are lacking skills. And we're telling other people because they hear and see our stress. They see our overwhelm. They see that we feel out of control, and they see it by the behaviors that we do. When we have skills, we have more control. We stay on top of situations more. We cope, we manage better, we deal with, we work through and handle situations better. So it is vitally important we grow a skilled birthing population. And this is where the Birthing Better skills come in. We developed these skills in the early 1970s. And who's we? Me, for sure. And I've been doing this for 45 years. And I worked with hundreds of families. I was a natural health practitioner, not a midwife or a childbirth educated or a doula, which didn't exist then anyway. I just worked with bodies, and a lot of pregnant women had bad backs. And a lot of older women had been damaged in their body through the activity of birthing their children. And little by little, over a 15-year period, fathers and mothers alike, because fathers wanted the skills to do the activity of coaching effectively. And so we developed first the skills to cope and manage and to coach any birth. And then we realized that we needed to develop the skills to prepare our bodies to do the activity of giving birth. The more we could open the body, create space for the baby, to be soft down there, to let the baby come down through and out, the more that we could figure out what positions were good for our baby, then we could then bring those skills into the birth and use the birth management skills so that we'd prepared for the activity and we did the activity well. I brought those skills to New Zealand in the mid-90s and put it into a charitable trust called Common Knowledge. And we've been online since 2000, growing a skilled birthing population. Our goal is for you and you and you and everyone you know to choose what skills-based system they use, and to write their own conventional birth plan, and to write a skills-based birth plan so their midwife or obstetrician knows what skills they've learned: breathing, relaxation, positions, the hip lift, the sacral maneuver, about the 5 phases of contractions. Whatever skills you've learned, put them down and ask your midwife or obstetrician or the staff to praise you when they see you breathing well and relaxing well and your partner really helping you, or to encourage you to use skills if you look or sound for the moment as though you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, or your partner isn't stepping up and helping you as much as they could, but they're nervous because they're in a professional environment and aren't certain that they should step up. So we want you to have a choice of what skills resource you use, but we don't want you to have a choice to choose not to become skilled. We need our whole society to connect pregnancy with learning skills to do the activity of giving birth. If you want to support our efforts, you can give us a donation via PayPal at info@birthingbetter.com. Share this video, comment on it. We have our YouTube channel with all these videos on it at Birthing Better Childbirth Preparation and YouTube. Tell us your experience with being skilled. Tell us your experience of how you began to use the word skills rather than education or information or preparation or choice or birth plans. How did skills really begin to grow in you? That's important. So I'll talk to you again tomorrow with another truth about childbirth. And don't forget to watch the myths around childbirth as well, because I did a whole series of those. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.